Welcome to the CMO Spotlight. I am here with Erin Levzow, who is the Vice President of Marketing Technology for Del Taco. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I wondered if you could start by just telling us a little bit about, start by telling us a little bit about Del Taco as an organization, and then I want to hear about your career journey to your current role.
Sure. So Del Taco is, like in its name, it is a QSR plus taco, burger, crinkle cut fry, kind of all the most amazing foods you can possibly have. Restaurant chain, 600 restaurants throughout the US, in multiple states. And I'm blessed to be able to provide my services to them.
Excellent. So, and you mentioned, I think I'd asked you before, are most of the restaurants company owned, or are they mostly franchise owned, or is it a mix?
It's a mix. It's about 50-50.
Okay, great. So tell me about your role at Del Taco, and then let's talk about your journey to get there.
Sure. So I'm the Vice President of Marketing Technology, and I've been there for a little over a year and a half. I joined, during the pandemic and work remote. And so quite the experience joining during a pandemic, as many people have had that experience. I oversee and lead and work with my team on all things martech related, whether that's the martech stack, CRM, loyalty, third-party delivery. I say if it touches a computer or a mobile device, we probably have a hand in it, which seems to be just about everything.
And of all of those things, it's a never-ending journey, right? So are you constantly evaluating how all of those different systems are working together and how you could evolve them as you grow?
Yeah, and everything's a living and breathing organism, right? It used to be you built an app or you built a website and you just left it, right? You built it, it's done, the project's over. But
Right.
it truly is a living and breathing organism. All the pieces of your martech stack are, and so it's constant optimization, tweaking, fine tuning, and evaluating each piece of the tech stack.
Great. So let's just talk briefly about your career journey. I know you've been in the hotel or restaurant space for your entire career. So just tell, what was your major, what led you into your first gig? And then where's the journey gone from there?
Absolutely. Well, my degree's in theater, and I thought that's really where I was going to be. I was always going to be on stage or behind stage, and grew up in a small town in Illinois, got that degree, got out of Illinois and went to Vegas. Actually wanted to go to LA, but couldn't afford LA, landed in Vegas, started working at a box office supervisor, which put me in theater. I still loved it. Moved up to a house manager, recession hit. Or no, they moved me over to be a training and talent development person for HR, which I got to coach employees and be on stage. And that was amazing. Help people with their development plan and their career growth. And I learned so much about leadership at that time, and then was able to put it in practice as my years continued. And then the recession hit. You don't need employees because, well, Vegas got hit real hard. I'm sure every place got hit real hard, but real hard by the recession. They eliminated my position. At the time I was with Caesars Entertainment. They said, what do you want to do? I said, I'll clean rooms. I'll do anything. And they said, what do you know about internet marketing? And I said, I have the Facebook. I didn't know a whole lot. And they gave me a shot. So I worked my way up. I worked from the bottom of the totem pole, like the very bottom, the dirt at the bottom of the totem pole. That's where I was. And I worked my way up. I took on anything and everything under the sun. I was paid hourly, so I got time and a half. It was great. Wow. Moved over to MGM Resorts to do the same thing, only we were the internal agency. So now I was doing my own ad buying, tracking, all of those things. Then went over to Palms and Palms Place to do that and led marketing over there. Then decided that we were ready to move out of Vegas. I had two little ones at the time, and went to Wingstop, leading digital and social and e-commerce, which was really exciting. The first time they kind of had someone leading that whole charge, building out that team. Went public with Wingstop, went over to Freebirds, where I was the VP of marketing, leading, which if you've never had Freebirds, I highly, highly recommend it. It is delicious.
And what's the concept? What is
fast casual. It's similar to like a Chipotle, just on a smaller scale.
Hmm.
And there's about, I don't know, 100 restaurants, mostly in Texas. And it is delicious. Like anytime I'm back in Texas, I'm definitely getting Freebirds. And then my mentor, Bobby Shaw, who recently wrote a book, Cutting Onions. It's a restaurant leadership book. He left and they cleaned house. And I, again, for unforeseen, like outside of my control, found myself unemployed again, looked around, landed at Hathaway, a martech agency, which I adore the guys at Hathaway, recently acquired as well, and loved it, was traveling a lot, and got an offer to move up to Wisconsin. So at that time I was in Austin. So we went Vegas, Dallas, Austin, got the opportunity to move up to Milwaukee, which again puts me back near where I grew up.
Midwest, yeah.
Yeah. And then be the chief marketing officer for Marcus Hotels and Resorts, where I got to build St. Kate, the Arts Hotel, which is a hotel unlike any other. It's about the creative process and pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and creating something. Doesn't matter where you come from or what your background is, you can grow and be inspired by going to St. Kate and getting involved, and even got to build a theater inside of the hotel, which was really exciting.
Use your early career background. That's cool.
It was kind of a passion project. So did that, and then got a call from my boss now, said that they were looking for someone like me. I said I wasn't super psyched about moving to California, you know, during a pandemic. And he said, that's okay, you can work from Wisconsin. And so about a year and a half ago, I joined Del Taco as the VP of martech, and it's been wonderful. Although it's much nicer weather out there than it is here right now.
Sure. Well, you knew what you were getting being from Illinois originally.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So I'm curious if there's a piece of advice that you were given earlier in your career, or a piece of advice you would give to somebody who's young in their career that, you know, that you wish that somebody had given you all those years ago.
Oh, I've been given a lot of great advice, some not so great advice too. I wish someone would have sat me down and said that my passion was amazing, and to cultivate it, and to cultivate my way of thinking, and that I'm unique, and that what you bring to the table makes you unique. Now, instead, I felt like I did get some of that not so great advice where people tried to put you in a box, right? Like, no, you need to do this because this is the way it works. And certain things don't have to always be done the same way. So I wish that I had a little bit more mentoring that way, but I eventually got there. And I'll tell you another great piece of advice that I got as a female in an executive role. I worked at a casino in Vegas, and I was the only female at the executive table. And one day, general counsel, who was also a female, pulled me aside, and she goes, people are going to call you a bitch. Do not change anything that you are doing. You are a strong, determined woman, and that scares them. And I said, and I was petrified. I was also petrified of her too.
Of her, right, right.
Yeah, I was like, ah. So I went and I thought about it. And it is true that because I'm strong, because I stand my ground, because I'm direct, I still like to have a lot of fun and laugh and joke around. But because I am that person, as a young woman at the executive table, I was seen in a very different light. And so getting that advice really has helped me to this day remind myself that someone else's perception of me is not always reality. And it doesn't mean that I always have to change who I am.
I love that. Well, authenticity, you know, if you're not authentic to yourself throughout your career, eventually that will catch up to you, I think.
Correct.
And it sounds like that's what a hugely valuable lesson for her to give you early on, to say, look, you can be yourself, and it doesn't mean you're a bitch. It doesn't mean, you know, it just means that you're direct, and that you're smart, and that you're capable, and that's intimidating to some.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So I believe that everybody has a superpower, and I'm curious what you feel your superpower is.
I would say it's drilling down and seeing both sides of things. So I'm really good about, if there's conflict, if there's issues, trying to understand both sides. And I say that and it sounds crazy. It sounds so corny. During the elections, people block and hide their friends, right? That don't have the same viewpoints. I do not do that because I want to know if maybe they know something I don't, and learn from both sides. And then I'm able to boil that down to understand, like, okay, that makes sense why you feel that way. All right, now if we can talk about it, here's why I feel the way I'm feeling, and really have those conversations without getting defensive, and without with the ability to break down the walls and the silos that surround them. Now, don't get me wrong, I used a political example, but though obviously there's still a lot of silos and still a lot of conversations that have to happen, that we know get heated. But when you think about in the workplace, that's my superpower, is like, all right, where are you coming from? What are you walking? What shoes are you walking in? And then understanding where someone else is coming from and being able to have those conversations.
Yeah. And to me, I think maybe some of the traits that lead to that would be curiosity, right? I want to understand because I'm curious. And then empathy, like being able to put yourself in the other person's shoes and not just see it from your own perspective. That's a good trait. Those are two great traits for marketers generally too, because at the end of the day, your customer may not be exactly like you. And so how do you put yourself in the customer's shoes? You're not always the target audience for your for whatever product you're marketing or whatever. So I love that. Okay. So I'm curious, we're hopefully on the back end of global pandemic and moving through that. And by the time this airs, hopefully we'll be totally done with it. But I'm just curious, other than that, what's the biggest challenge that you're facing in your job today, not specifically related to that?
That we are a lean team and we are also people pleasers. So I think a lot of marketers have this issue where we want to help everyone. We want to make sure we're doing everything 100% and reminding ourselves like why the priorities are set a certain way, but not feeling so bad about it. I often run into, not just up against myself where I go to bed going, oh man, I wish I could have done that, or I wish I could have just gotten to that. But like, again, reminding myself I'm only one person. So I think that is still what keeps us up at night. And then, like you just said, finding the right customer all the time.
So I'm curious where either you or for your team, you find inspiration outside of family or things like that. Like, where do you find inspiration?
There's lots of ways to answer this question. I ballroom dance. There's a lot of inspiration in that for me. So I love dancing. I think it's also taught me a lot about being a leader and being vulnerable and actually, putting my money where my mouth is. I get it from watching, listening to podcasts or watching speakers. So like, I love Brene Brown. Ironically, and I'm going to put him in the same bucket that I put Brene Brown, but I love Dax Shepard and his armchair expert. And there's a lot that you can take out of it. And I also think he comes at life with the, I want to understand both sides and hear what's going on, attitude. But he really does. If you listen to any of his armchair experts, like you walk away learning something new and inspired. I like listening to Adam Grant. So all of them fill my cup, which allows me to go fill others.
Awesome. I love that concept too. Helps fill my cup so that I can fill others. And if you didn't fill your own cup, you could not fill others.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So I'm curious what value you like to demonstrate or values you like to demonstrate as a leader, or what values do you demand in anybody that's going to be on your team?
Oh man. So if you're on my team, we talk a lot about Gallup Strength Finder. I'm a big believer in that, and that we lead by strengths, right? I don't lead by pointing out someone's weaknesses or going, you need to get better at that. Because what are the chances that something I am just not good at, I'm going to cultivate overnight? Not going to happen. But if you take my 5 top strengths and cultivate those, I'm going to be a rock star, right? Like that would be like asking a famous sport athlete that clearly has talents in that area to go do something that they're not talented in. I can think of a couple, and they're not going to be able to cultivate it, right? Even if they worked really hard. But if you find something they're very strong at, like basketball or baseball, and you cultivate that, they get really, really good, right? They're the best. And so we do a lot of that. I don't demand, but we do talk a lot about radical candor and this idea that we're always direct because that allows us to move fast and be nimble. But if you're direct and you don't care about me, then you're an asshole. If you're
Mhm.
direct and you care about me, then you're a good person that like wants to see me grow and wants to help you as well.
Yeah, you're trying to be constructive versus tear
Mhm.
somebody down.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
those are all things. And then as far as what I bring, it's positivity. And that is one of my core top 5 strengths. And I believe that we should be having fun at work. I believe that we should enjoy the people we're with. And if we don't, then it's time to go find a new place and new people to do it with.
That's great. Well, yeah, I mean, it's a large part of your not only waking day, but also your entire life that you're at
Yeah.
work. So you might as well enjoy the ride while you're doing it.
Yes.
So as you know, Setup exists to connect brands and marketing agencies, and we sort of live in that space between marketing agencies and brands. And so we often talk about that relationship between clients and agencies. So I'm curious, just generally how you work with agencies today. What are the kinds of agencies that you typically work with, and
Mhm.
what kind of areas, and what do you expect them to do for you?
Yep. We have different agencies with the different parts of marketing that we do, whether it's digital media buying or out of home media buying. Um, we do project-based work. We have website agency, things like that. So we do work with agencies. In fact, I trying to think if I've ever worked anywhere I didn't work with agencies in one form or another. I don't think the answer is, I think I've always worked with agencies everywhere I've worked, just in one form or another. It could be project-based, it could be ongoing. But in my history, agencies, including working at the agency life, has always been a big part of it.
But are there? So I'm curious if there's certain functions that you feel should always be a part. I mean, just for Del Taco in this case, are there certain things that you feel like, man, we need to own this in house always, this discipline or function? And are there certain other functions that you feel we should always look externally if we can to get that?
Yeah. I don't know that I have a hard and fast rule of when it should be internal versus external. I've been places where we've built entire internal teams and eliminated the agency. I've been places where we brought in an agency because we weren't able to build that internal bench strength. And there's pros and cons to both sides of it, right? There are places where like you build an entire internal agency, it's amazing. There are other places where like it just is not cost effective. You don't get the right skill set. You don't have a succession plan, things like that. For Del Taco, we have a media buying agency. I don't plan on that ever being any other way, right? Like it makes sense to go after someone else who has the expertise, the buying power, things like that. So, but never say never, right? Like
Yeah.
it's always, the world always changes. There's always a different need. And our whole goal as marketers or leaders is to be able to ebb and flow with the times.
Yeah. Well, we've been hearing particularly a lot the phrase talent wars and things like that, and how hard it is to find really good quality marketing people. And so we're seeing a trend where sometimes brands are leaning even heavier on marketing agencies because it might be easier to hire an agency that has these 5 different skill sets that you need from 5 different people than it is to hire the 5 headcount that you would need to bring
100%.
in-house.
And the different levels of expertise you need. And you can do it on a project basis. It doesn't have to be ongoing. You can do it and pull from it when you need it, or roll people on and roll people off on an account, on an agency side, that you can't necessarily do if you hire someone, you hired someone, right?
Yeah.
So there's definitely, like I said, pros and cons to both ways of looking at it.
Great. So throughout our careers in marketing, sometimes we work with folks who are not marketers by trade, and we work with a lot of other departments or groups within our companies. So how do you demonstrate the value of marketing to those that aren't native marketers?
Interestingly enough, I would say that, well, one, I don't typically come across people who don't understand what we do, but we get you to crave it. And the great thing about digital is we have the analytics to back it up. So starting from when I first did my own ad buying, I would say, like, you don't have to trust me. Like, just give me some money. Let me go at it. When you like the results, give me more money. That's how this is going to work, right? So digital has always had those result oriented scopes. So it makes it a little easier. I would say from a marketing standpoint, if somebody like I guess I have had someone who goes, they think it's all fake, right? All ghosting, and like you get out there and it's not real. And then we start talking about like, all right, what's the last purchase you made? Why did you make that purchase? What do you know about that product? And it's fun. If you keep asking the question, they eventually tell you the marketing tagline. They eventually tell you the song they remember. They
Right.
love Jared or whatever from State Farm. And like, I'm like, that's all marketing. Like, nobody in operations came up with that. That was a marketing
Yeah.
slogan that was put out there, right? Jake from State Farm. Yeah. Cracks me up. But it's reminding people why we do what we do. And I will tell you, whether I'm selling wings or tacos or a Vegas dream escape, it's about helping people realize the crave that they have, whether they have a crave for an escape or a crave for a vacation or a crave for wings, which you do, and they're delicious, or tacos. It's helping them realize that crave and then act on it.
Yeah, I just also think that sometimes the non-marketers look at marketing as a cost center versus a value driver. And so we have to overcome the, hey, look, by adding marketing, it's going to drive the demand and help expose the crave that you just mentioned, or even build crave that I didn't know I had.
Yep, exactly. And I think when you look at history, look at great products. Having a great product is like, that's the bar. You have to have a great product. But the companies that went above and beyond their competitors had great marketing.
Yep, 100%. Okay, so I'm wondering, it could either be at Del Taco or it could be at a previous life. Is there a specific campaign or program that you ran that taught you a really valuable lesson, either because it was a huge flop and it taught you a lesson you really needed to learn, or was a huge success and you'd like to try to duplicate and emulate that in the future?
Yes. So let's go with success. But it taught me something. And that would be at Wingstop, we ran mango habanero. And so well, it also was a failure before it was a success. So I'm going to hit on all the things that you
Great.
So we had limited time offers. A limited time offer means a product comes and a product leaves, right? It's there for a limited time. It is very normal in the restaurant industry and lots of industries. So we bring out mango habanero wings, the sauce. It does okay, like not great, but does okay. But then we take it away because it's a limited time offer. And you would have thought we like killed people's children. They were so upset. And they're telling us how angry they are. They started a change.org petition. That's like save the whales type petition. They were like, bring back mango habanero. They're so angry. And so we realized like, oh my gosh, maybe we do need to bring it back, right? Like franchisees are sitting around going, maybe we could store the sauce longer. You can't, like you have to get rid of it. But we thought, okay, crap, we took it away. We shouldn't have taken it away. People are upset and everybody's just jumping on the bandwagon now, right? Like someone's like upset and they're like, yeah, I'm not going either. What do you mean you're not going? Like, of course you're going. And it was such a small mix. Like who would have thought? So then we thought, all right, well, let's bring it back. But how do you bring it back, right? They're yelling at us saying like the man took it away, right? Like, and who's the man? The corporate man? I don't know what that means. Like, oh, they took it away. Okay, they're mad. How do we bring this back? So the idea came about actually in partnership with our agency to let them feel like they brought it back. And this is the pivotal point where it became a positive. And it wasn't about us. And that was the learning point here, was that it wasn't about us saying like, look, we won, we brought it back for you. So instead what we did was we sent out a voting thing that said, vote if you want mango habanero to come back. We knew they were going to vote yes. When they voted yes, we asked for their physical address. Like we said, we needed it for the survey results, whatever. Most of them gave it to us. We then packaged up packages that had no return address, nothing. It came in like a brown manila envelope. It had Viva El Manganero t-shirts, Viva El Manganero bandanas, stickers, like, and it said you were part of the Viva El Revolucion, right? Like it was like some guy in his basement created these and they're stamped with like sketchy stamps, and we shipped them to people's houses and we didn't say a thing from a corporate
How many
level.
ish did you send?
We only sent, I think like 200, like not that many at all.
Very select group. You're a special, special person in a select group. Yeah.
And so they didn't know they were special. They just know they got this like not this weird envelope that they opened that looked kind of crumbly, and it had this t-shirt and bandana, but it didn't tell them anything to do. It didn't tell them like, you need to go on social media and do this, or you need to go out and buy wings, or nothing. It just told them you're part of the revolution. Viva El Mangonero. They know they had voted for this. Social blew up. we didn't say anything. Social goes crazy with like 2000% increase on our social, of people being like, oh my gosh, look what I got in the mail. Viva, they're wearing the bandanas. They have the bandanas on their dogs. They're in the t-shirts. They have the stickers on their computers. And they were so psyched. They're like, who knows what's going on? Is this coming back? When's it coming back? We still didn't say anything. So we waited, and finally, like, we did a TV type commercial where it was like your TV was taken over, scrambled, and it was like the masked Viva El Manganero guy came and brought it back and like hijacked us.
Like a luchador
Yeah.
guy. Okay.
And it did so great. And at no point from a corporate standpoint did we go, you guys spoke and we listened and look, it's back, right? Like it, I mean, they're the ones that told us the man took it away. Like, let's go completely anti-man right now.
Right.
So that's the positive, because what we learned was it wasn't about us. It wasn't about making it like, look, we're the hero. It was by making it about them, making it about the customer. That's what won it over. That's what worked.
I love that. For those that are big fans of the Story brand and Donald Miller, they make it clear that your brand is not the hero. The customer is the hero. Your brand enables the hero to do and get what they want.
Yep,
and
exactly.
You all did that really well during that campaign. So that's awesome. That's fun. All right. So I've got a couple of questions for you, Erin, that have zero to do with marketing or anything. They're just for fun. The first one is, there a book or a band or a movie or a quote or a sports team or somebody that you know, something that inspires you, and what is it about that thing that inspires you?
Oh man, there, I think in everything you said, there's probably,
you can pick a couple if you'd like.
Okay, I will tell you that if you, and I'm sure by now everybody has watched Ted Lasso.
Why do you think I grew this mustache?
For Ted Lasso?
Yeah. Well, I'm coaching some digital marketing students as Ted Lasso. So I grew the mustache for that.
Oh my gosh. Well, so I definitely, I think there's so many positives in Ted Lasso. Not only because Brendan Hunt, who is the co-creator, and Coach Beard, he graduated from the same alma mater that I graduated from in theater. And so like, cool. Obviously I'm biased, but just the story of how it came about, how they wrote it, like it all boils up to why the show is so great too. So I love that. But I love that he talks a lot about like valuing the person, regardless of their actions, regardless of who they are, because it's accepting people. And he is true to his core that he's going to accept you. You walk in, he might not understand you, but he is an acquired taste himself, but he loves you for walking in that door, and you're part of the team. And I truly believe that when someone walks in my door, you're part of the team, you're part of the family. I might not agree with you, I might not like what you have to say, but we're going to find the happiness in it, the positivity in it, and you're part of the family now. I
love that. Well, it's funny when Jason Sudeikis, who plays Ted Lasso, went on Saturday Night Live, he was obviously an alum of the show. He said it's surprising the show is doing so well because it's two things that American hates: soccer and kindness.
Yeah, but it's true.
But truly, you're right. There's so many lessons from that show that we can take, and I think there are a lot of quotables that you could leverage when you're in conversation. So I love that you chose that.
And if you study comedy too, again, my background in theater, it is extremely difficult, if not unheard of, to write comedy in a positive and uplifting way. Think of it, any comedy that stand-up comedian show, it's comedy is usually done at the expense of someone else, right? You're making fun of something, the expense could be yourself, like it's slapstick comedy. Yeah. But to have an uplifting comedic show with great timing is like, it's unfathomable. I can't wait for the next season, and I'm sure I'll binge watch it in a minute.
Yeah, same here. Well, I think that, one valuable lesson about the comedy in that show that maybe we can leverage as marketers and as people is self-deprecating humor can be really powerful. And I think that that's part of what he does that really well, that character does in the show really well, is it's okay to poke fun at yourself. If you poke fun at yourself, you're not making fun of somebody else, but it still could be quite funny. And also I think showing a little bit of vulnerability by doing that and
Yes.
showing that you have the confidence to be able to pick fun at yourself, rather than just taking advantage of somebody else is a pretty good lesson too.
I completely agree. And I think there's a very fine line between making fun of yourself and being insecure. And when people find that line of like, hey, it's okay to like joke around and make fun of yourself and like be real and authentic, doesn't mean I'm insecure. And
Yeah.
that is a really fine line. And when people find it, they own it and they own it well.
I like that. So is there a brand that you've never worked on that you really admire? And what is it about the brand that you admire?
Well, there's a lot of brands. Like I get really psyched about learning about brands in general, but I want to work on Dove. I think it's really cool. I think Dove has done a lot for women and body image and acceptance. Not just like, hey, we put a plus size model in our ads, but hey, let's focus on body image and what that means to accept yourself, whether you're super skinny or fat or tall or short or whatever it might be, accepting what you look like and who you are. And I think that that brand has transcended, hey, we make soap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that is really cool to me. There's a huge purpose behind it. And so I think that would be a lot of fun to work on.
That's great. I think generally brands that focus beyond their product to a larger, more a higher purpose of some kind,
Yes,
are always, we keep hearing this and learning this lesson over and over again, is that, and so Del Taco, I mean, yes, it may be, about selling a taco to a human that wants to eat the taco, but what else is it? Is
what's
it about
the bigger
nourishing
purpose?
somebody? Is it about, is it about nourishing somebody beyond just the food and the experience? But
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, my last question for you is there a question that you wish that I would ask as part of these conversations that I didn't ask you today?
I don't think you covered a lot of ground. I encourage, if people listen or watch this and they want to reach out, to please reach out. I always like making new friends and hearing from different people. And if for some reason you didn't agree with something I said, I would love to hear that, because like I said, I am curious. I want to know what people think and why they think it.
I love that. Well, and in fact, that's where we connected, was one of your friends was on the CMO Spotlight, and I reached out and I said, oh, I saw that you were interacting with the CMO Spotlight. I want you to be on it too. So anyway, I want to thank you. Erin Levzow is the Vice President of Marketing Technology at Del Taco. Thank you so much. This has been such a joy to talk to you today.
Thank you. It was wonderful.